Different countries deal with smugglers in different ways. This is how the Colombian Air Force sometimes handles it, at least when corrupt officials don't just wave the narcos right on through. Because both responses are real, and both are a big part of this story. An alleged Mexican narco was extradited to the United States from Canada, accused of a smuggling network that bribed air traffic controllers in Colombia to ignore their private planes shuttling kilos out of the country. Things were running smoothly until they weren't, and it ended like this. The mob reporter here with a story of clandestine airstrips, corruption, snitches, and the ups and downs of a narco gang that had friends in high places, some of whom now face trial in Los Angeles. Let me tell you about it. Miguel Haddad Facusa, 37, was extradited from Vancouver in Canada and faces federal charges in the United States. Secret documents were filed this week in his case in the United States and sealed by the judge. That usually signals evidence involving snitches or undercover agents. I wish I had a photo of Haddad to show you. I bet he looks a bit wild because he has two nicknames in Spanish. El Gerenius, which is usually a reference to a mop of messy hair, and El Barbas, which means the beard. What must a guy known variously as the mop and the beard look like? If he was an Italian mobster, I'd actually expect him to be bald and clean-shaven, but he isn't. He's Mexican, despite him being arrested in Canada. Haddad is accused of being a big part of a group moving tens of millions of dollars worth of Colombia's leading underworld export to Mexico, to then be shipped into the United States. The key to their operation, prosecutors say, was clandestine airstrips, carved out of the jungles, and bribing air traffic controllers and police officials to look the other way whenever their plane appeared on radar. Authorities aren't sure how long they've been doing it, but they know a lot about one of their trips, one that went down in flames, literally. In late 2017, a shipment was being arranged, and the USDEA, or someone, was apparently listening in every step of the way, as they used coded language to make their plans. The alleged boss was Jason Davilo Amador, and Haddad was his man in Mexico, according to the federal indictment, coordinating and financing flights, supplying pilots, and setting up clandestine airstrips. There were more than a dozen others with them. One was an air traffic controller who was secretly on their payroll, and two were retired officers for the Colombian National Police who apparently had influence with the Air Force and local authorities. In October, authorities say they mapped out the purchase of the product in Colombia, arranged for a plane in Mexico to get it, constructing a clandestine airstrip that had been cleared near a ranch near Santa Marta, Colombia, and aviation fuel for refueling was purchased and stored nearby. This is in Colombia's north, facing the Caribbean Sea. It's a lovely area. Police agents secretly listened in as the air traffic controller rearranged work schedules to make sure friendly controllers were on duty when the plane was expected to sneak in, load up, and sneak back out. On October 25th, the date of the planned mission, bad weather in Mexico meant the plane couldn't take off as expected. The mission was scrubbed. The air traffic controller needed to juggle shifts again, which required more bribes, authorities say. 2 days later, on the rescheduled date, a political summit in Mexico meant another delay, presumably because of increased security in the area. A new date was chosen, November 5. The network was activated again. One guy brought a tractor to the Colombian airstrip to help with loading. Another brought fuel to the landing strip. The paid-off air traffic controllers were scheduled to work, and their friends with the military and police were alerted. The night before, a weather report from the airstrips in both countries gave 2 thumbs up. It was all systems go. On November 5th, the plane left Mexico on schedule. About 515 kilograms of packaged product, that's about 1,135 pounds, was hauled out to the airstrip, and everyone waited for the plane. But suddenly, there came a frantic message. Abort! Abort! The authorities were onto them. The plane couldn't be aborted in time. It was too close to Colombian airspace. It was intercepted by the Colombian Air Force and forced to the ground near Barranquilla. Then the Air Force shot the crap out of it. This is raw footage of the interception. The guys waiting at the airstrip were told to scramble out of there. They hid at the nearby estate of the father of one of the conspirators. Soon, police were swarming over the bricks at the airstrip, and here's what they found, all laid out. Miraculously, the two pilots managed to escape before the shooting started. Davila, the alleged boss, told his right-hand man to find a place for the pilots to hide, but not to tell any other member of the group where they were. He smelled a rat. 2 days later, the boss called a meeting for everyone in Santa Marta to discuss what went wrong. Now, whatever happened at that meeting, Haddad was apparently cleared by Davila. On November 24th, he arrived in Colombia on a commercial flight to arrange for his pilots to escape back to Mexico. But he was stopped at the border because he was carrying too much cash. Still, members of the network weren't arrested in Colombia until 2 years later, in September 2019. Haddad was arrested even later, last year in Vancouver, on Canada's west coast. The issue of clandestine airstrips is a constant problem in South and Central America. Police and armed forces of several countries regularly spot them during their patrols and move in to blow holes in the runways to make them inoperable, at least without a lot of repairs. Here is operational footage of airstrips being destroyed in several countries, including Brazil. Right now, I don't know what brought Haddad to Canada or what he was doing there, but I know where he is now. He joins 3 co-accused in the plot who were arrested in Colombia and extradited to Los Angeles. They include 2 brothers, Rafael and Enrique Noguera. The arrest and extradition of the Noguera brothers sparked a scandal in their homeland because their cousin was head of the Colombian government's Criminal Financing Directorate. That's the agency coordinating property forfeiture and money laundering investigations. Although there are no allegations she had any involvement at all, she resigned as the director a few months ago at the request of the ministry. All 4 of the accused in Los Angeles have pleaded not guilty. Thanks for watching.